Dear students, the previous class in the subject of quality control and quality assurance, chapter 4, I have discussed about the uh, documentation in pharmaceutical. So, what is the definition of the documentation, uh, different types of the documentation, and for example, personal training, quality control, building, factory, equipment, materials, stores, engineering, distribution, market complaints, waste disposal, return products, and all. And even we have discussed about the purpose of the documentation and what's the difference between document and objectives of the document, and so on. So today we'll look into the types of the documents again. Number one is the quality manual. Number two, policies. Number three, standard operating procedures. Number four, batch records, test methods, specifications, logbooks. We'll see in detail each one by one. The quality manual. A global company document that describes, if you take a global company document that describes in paragraph form the regulations or parts of the regulations that company is required to follow. That's one. Number two, policies, documents that describe the general terms, in general terms, not with step-by-step. So how specific GMP aspects, security, documentation, health, responsibilities, so it will be implemented in the policies. That's one type of document. Again, the another type of document is the standard operating procedures, SOPs in general. It's nothing but step-by-step instructions for performing operational tasks or activities. 4. Batch records. These documents are typically used and completed by the manufacturing department. So where every batch will be taking care, production and all. The batch records provides a step-by-step instruction for production-related tasks as well as the activities. Besides, including areas in the batch record documenting such tasks. Fifth one is the test methods. So these documents are typically used and completed by the quality control department. So the test methods provide again step instructions for testing supplies, materials, products, and other production related tasks and activities. Example is the environmental monitoring of the GMP. Then test methods typically contain the that have to be filled in at the end of the process. This is for documenting the testing and the results of the testing. Okay. Then specifications. Documents that list the requirements that a supply, a material or product must meet before being released for use or sale. The quality control department will compare their test results to specifications to determine if they pass the test. Then logbooks. The bound collection of forms used to document the activity. Logbooks are meant, for example, in the instrument lab or any lab. You enter what is a enter time, what is a exit time, and which instrument you have used, like that. So that's nothing but a logbook. Bound collection of forms are used to document the activities. Typically, so the logbooks are used for documenting the operations, maintenance, calibration of a piece of equipment. Okay, so that's there. And logbooks are also used to record critical activities, for example, monitoring of clean rooms, solution preparation, recording of deviation, change controls, and its corrective action assignments. Then we'll see about the hierarchical document system. Okay, the specificity usually how it will be. Number one is the quality manual level one, and number two company policies. That is two. Level three is SOPs, that is standard operating procedures, and level four is the batch records, test methods, specification, validation documents, and all. This is a small hierarchical document. Then types of documents, labels, specifications, and master formula, batch processing and batch packaging records, please, stock control and distribution records, quality manual, other types. Let us see in detail. Labels. So the labels are required for all types of the containers, even we need for equipment, premises, and all. And specification and testing procedures, they are also required for all starting materials, packaging materials, intermediates, uh, bulk, and even the finished product. So there must be a master formulation for all manufacturing process and packaging instructions for each stock keeping unit that is produced. The batch processing documents and the records are required for all manufacturing process, and batch packaging documents, only manufacturing batch packaging documents and their records. Again, they are all required for the packaging. Then standard operating procedures, they are all required for all types of operation that are not product specific, whether they're related directly manufacturing or to operation of the facility. So for that reason, SOPs are required and stock control records. So they are usually used uh, for all materials that are stored in the warehouse. And distribution records, they are usually used for all batches of material that are uh, which are dispatched from the warehouses. Okay, then a water quality manual describes all aspects of the water system design, operation, maintenance, and water quality testing. Then, what is the importance of a documentation? So, good documentation always we know that it's an part of the quality assurance. Documents will provide the working details which are necessary for manufacturing, packaging, and quality control. It defines the specification for all materials and methods of manufacture and control. So they reduce the risk of errors inherent, which are inherent in verbal communication, and ensures that all personnel who are concerned manufacturing know they should know what to do, how to do, when to do, and why to do this. Then documentation records are quite essential for obtaining the accreditation and even ISO certifications and approvals by the federal bodies. And also they help in tracing the deviation from the expected yield and necessary action can be taken necessary. So the quality of products produced by different batches is compared so that the batch to batch variation can be easily detected and the quality of the product is consistently maintained. They are considered as a history of batch operations and can facilitate verification in case of problems, if any, if they arise in later dates. And self-inspection of the procedures is possible through records in order to achieve better control of operations. Then the existence of documented evidence will help traceability in case of errors like batch rejections, product complaints, recalls, etc. Steps involved in the PM. The identification of fairly knowledgeable persons from production and the quality control and the quality assurance to formulate the documentation outline. That means they will identify the knowledgeable persons from the production department, from the quality control, and from the quality assurance department. And listing out the manufacturing formulation departments existing, where it is existing or, and then list out the regulatory requirements on documentation, then categorize the documentation, different that means documents for production, documents for QA, documents for equipment, documents for building, etc. Like that, you have to categorize and design the document, explain the document to concerned people, then train them how to use the same, and then trial run the document, study the difficulties, modify or redesign, then implement the document, review it by taking the feedback from the user at regular intervals. In documentation, important areas. So records describe specifications and instructions where we need document. Almost all the areas we need. Building and premises, respect to the installation, validation, cleaning, and maintenance. There also we need the document. Then equipment. For equipment again, when it is installed, what time it is installed, those things should be validation, cleaning, maintenance. Then for starting materials as well as packaging materials, specifications, what is its specification, what are the testing methods, and how to store it, what are the warehousing conditions, rejections, if any, or disposals, for that also we need. And finally, the finished goods. That is again same for specification, testing, storage, distribution, rejection, and disposal. Then complaints. Complaints you can if any complaints are there regarding that particular batch of the product, investigate. For that also we need to maintain the record, document investigations, actions, including recalling, then all manufacturing and packaging procedures. Then for non-product related operations like cleaning, disinfection, maintenance, hygiene, etc. For various type of testing like physical, chemical, microbiological, etc. Then what is a batch? One batch. So generally we all see in the academics, that is practicals, when we conduct one batch, two batch reliability. A batch means some 20 students. Here batch is a lot, defined as a quantity of starting material, packaging material, or product which are processed in a single process or a series of processes, so that it is expected to be homogeneous, it should be same. Okay, what is defined? Maybe for starting material, packaging material, or product which are all processed in a single process. It should be homogeneous. In the case of terminal sterilization, the batch size is determined by the capacity of the liquid. Okay, that is there. And in continuous manufacture, the batch must correspond to a defined fraction of the production, characterized by its intended homogeneity. A batch size can be defined either as a fixed quantity or as the amount which is produced in a fixed time of interval. Then that is called batch. Then quite related to that, batch number. So what is batch number? It is a distinctive, clear combination of numbers or letters which uniquely identifies a batch the labels, its batch records, and corresponding certificates of analysis. So what and all batch number is printed. So it has to give all the information in that particular document. And batch records, all documents associated with the manufacture of a batch, or that particular batch, bulk product, or even for the finished product. Then master formula record. So in this case, master formula record has to assure the uniformity from batch to batch. So one batch is having one quality, one another batch is having another quality. Like that, it should not be happen. Should assure uniformity from one batch to another batch. And master production control records for each drug product, including such batch size, shall be prepared, and it should be dated, be signed with full signature and handwritten by one person, and independently check date, dated, signed by a second person. And it's also known master production and control record MPCR, master formula record, that is Schedule M in India, master formulae and packaging instructions as per WHO, then TGA, that is manufacturing formula and processing instructions, Australia, then master formula record that must be prepared for each drug product. Then the master formula should be stored in highly access storage, the proper control, preferably with one person in charge of its control. The MPCR, that is master production and the control records, are again two types. The master formula records give proportion of ingredients in the formulation, and master batch formula records which specify absolute amounts of specific ingredients and excipients. Master formula record again contains the following instructions, that is manufacturing instruction, particularly the name of the product with product reference code, the dosage form, strength, batch size, full list of materials including quantities, a unique reference code, unexpected final yield with acceptable limits, processing location and its principal equipment, equipment preparation methodology, stepwise processing instructions, details of in-process control with instructions for sampling and acceptance limits, the storage requirements and special. That is those things are for instruction for manufacturing. Then for packaging instructions, again, same thing, most of the things, the name of the product, dosage form, strength and method of administration, there is a difference. Then pack size, that is number, weight or volume of product in finished pack. Okay, first, what is the name of the product? Then how much dose and what is its strength and what is the route of administration, that is method of administration. Pack size, that means weight or volume. Then list of all packaging materials, quantity, size and code number. Examples of printed packaging materials with location of batching information, special precautions, including area clearance, checks, then description of the packaging operation, then in process checks with sampling instructions and acceptance criteria. So if you look into the batch manufacturing instruction sheet, we'll have like this small example. A batch number should be the document number, page number, in case if they want to have the tablets. So here safety precautions, equipment, what equipments are required usually, those things are there. So in the safety precautions, wear proper protective clothing at all times, wear gloves at all times, keep hands and clothing clear or rotating machinery. And if the operator has long hair, then ensure it is tied up adequately. Avoid materials coming into contact with the skin, wash thoroughly. Then operator's signature and date, what equipment is required, whether metaller is required or stainless steel scoop, 20mm stainless steel, hand screen, 20-liter stainless steel bucket. So what are the requirements? Again, they have to do the signature. So all equipments before and after should be cleaned and working. It should be in working order. Granulation. So this is a sample one. Then master production and control. How it will be. So here the manufacturer's trade name or the proprietary name should be given. Generic name, if any generic name should be given. Physical composition of product. Description of the product. Then code name of the ingredient, active ingredient. Along with that, then excipients, what and all added. Then absolute weight measure. That's one, and then target weight. Target weight or measure lot of production, a lot. Initial process units. Table consisting of the component code, component name, weight measure, and then calculated excess of component, theoretical weight at the appropriate phase of processing, theoretical yield, maximum percentage of theoretical yield, minimum percentage of theoretical yield. You should have this one, MPCR, master product and control. Then the importance of the master production and the control records, MPCR. It assures that the different individuals will be consistent in following the process. So this enhances the potential for consistent product quality, and it allows more effective evaluation of the causes of any quality deviations in case and provides a firm basis process optimization. The next one is the techniques for simplification and error prevention. Very important techniques for simplification and error prevention. Standardizing the columns on each page, such as 5-column approach. So what should be there? 5 columns: instruction, control value, range, actual results, performed by whom, verified by whom. The instructions are short statements, should be very short statement, and highlighting the verb to indicate the desired action. For example, add the ingredient, mix the solution, verify the connection, like that. Very short statement. Then gray out boxes, columns that need not be completed. Using color, it means boxes, key instruction text is useful to differentiate all. Call attention to using the visuals, pictures, and icons are very much popular. Simplification and to avoid the prevention also. So in addition to safety figures, icons can be used to denote the specific types of checks or operations that's there. And then batch production and control record, BPCR. So it's also known as batch processing and batch packaging records. Okay. In batch records for packaging, for manufacturing, MCC South Africa, it is there. In earlier case, batch processing and batch packaging records in India, WHO, MHRA, TGA, and it's a BPCR, that is batch control, batch production and batch control record, the recurring record document. Hence, the batch production and control records are detailed description of the instructions, procedures, controls, and specifications for the production of a batch, a lot of drug product. So this gives the complete history of a batch which is produced. Definitely it provides a detailed description of all processing operations and controls when they are performed, by whom and where. And the batch production and control records will be prepared for each batch of the drug product and which is produced, and shall include the complete information is relating to the production as well as the control of batch each batch. All completed records associated with a single batch of the production be consolidated and filled in order to ensure any ready access. Then identifying control number can be assigned to each individual for indexing these records files. Then the batch formula is derived from the master formula. We all know that. So then when it is given like that, the batch formula is derived from the master formula, then batch production and control records, also it's a primarily a replication of the master production and control record, MPCR. Additionally, it gives the actual process record of the batch produced and helps in maintaining the complete production and control history of the batch. So it is maintained under the same conditions as the master formula, and it is intended for a single manufacturing cycle, and all the manufacturing instructions are described sequentially in which they occur during the processing, with details of operations to be accomplished in a single manufacturing cycle. Then specific information is stated and sufficient space is allotted to complete the required responses. Instructions, procedures, controls, and specifications established in the master batch formula must be duplicated to serve as a guide for the actual production operations. The method of preparation of such records should be designed to avoid the errors. Because the heading is that only. And before any processing begins, a check should be made that whether the equipment and workstations are clear for the previous products or not, and documents, and that the equipment is clean and suitable for use or not. This check should be recorded. So hence the batch manufacturing record should be completed during the production. In the importance of the batch production and control records, the following few specific information is useful to the operators in BPCR, that is ingredients to be added, control measures to be exercised, information regarding the manufacturing cycle. Then batch formula record should help in completing the operations by operators or supervisors. So these serves as identifications to by when they are performed, to by whom and where. And these are useful documents for verification in case of the complaints. Keep good records. The good records are enabled to track all activities which are performed during the batch manufacture, from the receipt of raw material to the final product release. So they provide a history, the batch and its distribution. Hence, it's an essential part of GMP to keep the accurate records, and during an audit, it helps convey the message so that procedures are being followed. It also demonstrates that the processes are known and which are controlled. Remember, record all necessary information immediately upon completion of a task. Never trust your memory or write results on loose pieces of paper. Don't do that. I can remember, I can record later. No, not like that. Immediately you should record. Then write your name legibly in ink, okay, ink pen. And remember that by signing records, you are certifying that the record is correct and that you have performed the task as per the defined procedure. You will be held responsible, okay, and also accountable. And draw a single line through any mistakes and initial and date. The correction date of correction has been done. Include the reason what for correction has been done at the bottom of the, and then record details if you deviate from a procedure. Yes. Then ask your superior or supervisor or the quality department for advice if a deviation should, in case if they occur. And do not document someone else's work unless you are designated and trying to do so. Okay, it's there. And never assume that the undocumented work has been properly completed. If not written down, then it did not happen. So that's the main statement. Then storage and retention of the documents. The completed documents and records of each batch should be retained for at least 1 year after the expiry date of batch. Okay, please remember the completed documents and records for each batch that should be maintained or retained at least 1 year after the expiry date of batch for that batch product. If the expiry date is not mentioned, then they should be retained for at least 6 years from the date of its manufacturing. Okay. There is a clarity in that, and master document should be kept secured from theft, loss, or any alterations of information. Okay, that should be protected, and even the storage and retention of documents and records can be done in electronic format in the form of microfilms, microfiles, which are photo reduced copies. They cannot take the copies of that. Then storage and retrieval of the documents. Storage and retrieval of the document. The document should be stored in such a manner that the retrieval is easy, and for this purpose, a system is adopted in which a list of documents are prepared as per their name, location, person to be contacted, or its retrieval. Okay. The retrieval of the master document should be possible with proper authorization of the quality assurance. Then the disposable of documents. The expired documents must be destroyed by QA with proper record and authorization by suitable methods like shredding, burning. Okay, that's one way, shredding and burning. Okay, so which type of disposal of the document? Expired documents. Again, they should be destroyed by which? The QA department with proper record and authorization. Okay. They may burn it, they may shred it. Those are the few terms in retrieval of the document. Let us look into the standard operating procedures. This standard operating procedure shall be prepared by a supervisor who is supervising the actual performance of the operations of the respective departments. And what is its objective of the SOPs? Responsibilities, accountability, etc. So, objective of this section should describe intended use and applicability of SOP, what for it is meant, and where it can be applied, and responsibility. So, this section should describe the designation of persons along with their responsibilities towards the implementation of the whatever mentioned in the objective of SOP. Then accountability. This section should describe the designation of persons who are seniors to person responsible for compliance of any SOP. Then procedure. This section must include the operating procedures in short and unambiguous sentences. All the process checks must be clearly defined. Procedures. Then the implementation of the SOP is done after approval of SOP, and then QA department ensures that all persons who are user get appropriate training before implementation of the SOP, and after its successful completion of training, SOP becomes the most effective. The sixth one is the issuance and the retrieval of the SOP. Issuing and retrieval. The original copy shall be stamped as master copy. Okay, using reading pen. Is mentioned here in the PPT also. At the top right hand corner, okay, what is that? The original copy should be stamped. The master copy with reading the top right hand corner, and copies of which are distributed to all the concerned departments. The master copy is duly stamped as controlled copy in the concerned departments. That should be in the blue color, blue ink, to the top of left hand corner. Okay, one is right hand, that is master copy, and control copy should be left hand with blue in color, and these master copies should be stored under strict supervision of the quality assurance. Then the revision of SOP, when it has to be revised. The SOP revision should be carried out as per change control procedures. The document change request form should be properly filled, signed, and attached with SOP and submitted to the document section by the respective department. See, this is how the document is. Master copy is red ink right hand and blue ink in the left hand side for control copy. Then SOPs, which are written by the division responsible for carrying them out, but also it has to be approved by the QA. Who is responsible for SOP? And where should SOPs be stored? There should be one master copy in central place and authorized copies adjacent to the place where the operation is carried out, and photocopies. Critical equipment, that means logbooks, that means using maintenance and cleaning. And which activities require SOPs usually? Into that, the receipt of all material deliveries. For that reason, we need internal labeling, quarantine and storage of materials, operation, maintenance and cleaning of all instrument and equipment, sampling of materials, batch numbering system, material testing at all stages of production, then batch release or rejection, maintenance of distribution records, equipment assembly and validation, calibration and operation of analytical apparatus, cleaning, sanitation and maintenance, personal recruitment, training, clothing and hygiene, environmental monitoring, pest control, complaints, recalls, return goods. This is one small copy, specimen copy, standard operating procedure, confidential and proprietary. Modern law should be there, procedure number, page number, date issued, revision number, super codes, date effective, which section, general operating procedure, subject of product compliance, maintenance, part of the maintenance of the product compliance register. So this procedure applies to all product compliance. No master or a travel. Some may appear abbreviations, e.g. QM. Yeah. EJ means, for example, QM is quality manager, SOP, and what are the responsibilities. So this is one sample. Then distribution of record. Records of distribution should be maintained in such a way that the finished trial batch of a drug can be traced to retail level, and it should also follow the prompt and complete recall of batch whenever necessary. And what should be recorded? Raw materials, packaging materials, finished product, batch numbers, status, quantities, expiry date, manuals or electronic. Distribution record per batch, batch number, quantity, and destination of each delivery. Then should records be stored? Why are the records so important? Okay. Then I'll continue in the next class regarding specifications be included in documents. Thank you.